What's happening, y'all, man? I'm trying to get this 4-3 video out to y'all, man. I keep working on it and I stay up late working on it. Then when I wake up in like the afternoon, I wake up to a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I'm bringing y'all this Thursday Redskins report just to keep y'all up to date on everything that just happened literally, basically just today. I'm spamming y'all with videos, I know, but I just feel like I have to report everything. So I'm trying to mash everything into this one video and get right back to this 4-3 video. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's get it. First of all, Trent Williams is reportedly a lock to come back. Tony Pauline, who said a lot of interesting stuff lately, like the past couple of weeks. He's been the source for a lot of Redskins news and opinions. He said that a source told him outright that Williams will return to Washington because of Ron Rivera. Like literally because of Ron Rivera's presence, his leadership, and the moves that he's made. And that basically he's willing to forgive Dan Snyder and the Redskins organization for what they've done in the past, just simply because of what Ron Rivera has been doing in the present. And I love the fact that Ron Rivera has that much weight to his name. It looks like we finally actually have a damn good culture. Because we've been through this before with all kinds of coaching moves and all kinds of different directions we've been going in. We've seen this over and over again. But this time with Ron Rivera, it actually feels different. Like it feels real. And it's easy to point out that we haven't played any games so far. We haven't won anything on the field exactly. But the Ron Rivera hire definitely feels like a big win so far. I actually feel like we're a franchise that can be taken seriously now. Like for real, for real. I mean, just listen to the very recent praise that's come out literally within the past 24 hours. I mean, we already have a long list of people who have praised Ron Rivera outside of the Redskins organization. Basically saying that Ron Rivera will change the culture. He's the best coach you can have. All of that type of stuff from players, other coaches, front office people from outside the Redskins organization. Not just inside of it. But also QB's coach, Quinton Dunbar, who was also one of our best hires so far, said that, quote, discipline and structure. That's what Rivera brings when he walks in the door. The whole atmosphere changes with his presence, and that's why he's a unique head coach. There's not many guys that can do that, and he's that way. And that's why I wanted to be a part of this as fast as I could get here. The first thing that hits me right off the gate is discipline and structure. And that will show in the way we play on the field. There's no doubt about it. And those words hold a lot of weight because Quinton Dunbar was a highly sought after QB's coach in the market this offseason, and the fact that he really wanted to go to Ron Rivera proves that Ron Rivera is really that dude. Quinton Dunbar also said at some point in that interview that there's a long line of guys that want to be on Coach Rivera's staff, I promise you. Basically saying that if you have Ron Rivera as your head coach, you'll pretty much have your selection of the cream of the crop out of position coaches and front office people and all of that, because everybody just wants to be a part of this Ron Rivera era. Whether it be in Washington or wherever else he could have ended up. Great people, great coaches, great players follow Ron Rivera and want to be a part of what he's creating wherever he's at. And that's big. And also, the great linebacker from the great Panthers defenses, Thomas Davis, just recently said that he expects Ron Rivera to make the Redskins better right away. So that's another player recommendation who has no reason to go out of his way to compliment Ron Rivera and boost him up and all of that. He doesn't play for Ron Rivera anymore. There's no incentives to go out and say these things. And the fact that players, coaches, front office people, and all of that are just going out of their way to speak highly of Ron Rivera, even when they don't have to, just shows a lot of what Ron Rivera brings to the table for the Redskins. And we should expect a lot of great years ahead of us. It may not happen immediately in 2020, but best believe down the line, the Redskins will be one of those great teams that are consistently in the playoff run and possible Super Bowl contention. But before we get too excited about the Trent Williams situation and how positive it sounds, another source close to the situation said that Washington still remains far away from getting him back at this point. There's still some hurdles to overcome before we can celebrate a Trent Williams return. Quote, it comes down to this organization proving they want him or letting the man walk. So with all of the conflicting sources and everything, what I take from it and like a happy middle is that Ron Rivera is the main reason, if not the only reason, that Trent Williams is even willing to come back. and he is likely to come back. But the Redskins need to get certain things done, need to show him that they want him. And I'm pretty sure that's just another way to say, give me more money. Show me how bad you want me to be on this team. Give me more guaranteed money. Possibly extend me long term. All of that type of stuff. So I still believe that getting Trent Williams back is very likely. But of course, there's things in the way that need to be taken care of. And I'm pretty sure money is like the vast majority of it. Now I want to get to my boy Chase Young. Because I am definitely in the camp that wants Chase Young number 2. I mean, the trade back option is very nice and all. It's a great backup plan. I wouldn't be mad, honestly. To be able to get several good to great players like Isaiah Simmons and other first round pick caliber type of players, that would be great too. Maybe a few seconds or whatever. Maybe some future first. But I'm definitely in the camp that just wants to go ahead and get Chase Young at number 2. He's just one of those guys you can't pass up. I mean, Brett Coleman, a very trustworthy film and football mind, very smart, on YouTube, check him out. He said he's never given a grade as high as Chase Young. He said that he's the best pass rusher that he's ever evaluated. He tweeted that he's what you get when you package the technical development of the Bosa brothers. So basically the advanced technique and pass rush moves and counters and all of that type of stuff that you get with the Bosa brothers, along with the physical, natural gifts and talents of Myles Garrett that you can't teach. Chase Young has both of those combined. And he also said, I don't know if I'll ever see another 20-year-old prospect like him again, ever. And that is a big endorsement for somebody that reviews film religiously. I mean, like, that's his main calling card. All he does is film session study, college and NFL. And that is a huge recommendation from one of the biggest football YouTubers out there doing it. And I definitely trust him and I believe him. I also agree, because I've done a lot of Chase Young study. I feel like I've done my fair share of study on previous pass rushers that have come into the league and who are currently in the league. And Chase Young is definitely a different type of guy, trust me. But I'm saying all of that to preface that Chase Young looks like he is a super lock. I mean, I've already reported that he looked like a lock before when I said that Ron Rivera really wants him and loves him and all of that type of stuff. But now add Dan Snyder to the list. Another Tony Pauline report. Like I said, this man has been buzzing on the internet lately, especially for Redskins news. But he said that not only does Ron Rivera love Chase Young, but owner Daniel Snyder wants Young to wind up in DC. And it seems pretty unanimous that the owner and the coach are on the same page on drafting Chase Young at this point. So we can talk about all of these trade back scenarios. I may do a mock draft to show what it would look like if we were to trade the number 2 pick away, just for the fun of it. But first of all, I want Chase Young at number 2. And then most importantly, because I don't have any say in this at all, Ron Rivera and Dan Snyder both really want Chase Young. So the odds of them trading that number 2 pick away or drafting anybody else with that number 2 pick are just slim to none. This is as much of a lock as it can be for a pick before the draft comes. If there was ever a time that you could consider a pick a lock in February, this is one of them. I give it a high 90%. I mean, it might even be like a 98, 99% chance that we are taking Chase Young. Unless he does something completely boneheaded, gets caught smoking weed on camera, ends up with something random. I mean, I don't want to say any more things because there's all kinds of things I could say, but I don't want to even put that negative energy out there. But I just want to say that as long as Chase Young doesn't do anything ridiculously stupid, or he doesn't do something absolutely just ridiculously terrible at the combine, you can pretty much just go ahead and write it in permanent Sharpie marker that the Redskins will be taking Chase Young number 2 overall in the 2020 NFL Draft late April. And now Quinton Dunbar's name is back into the news. Apparently Quinton Dunbar still wants to be released or traded. Josina Anderson said, quote, sources close to the Redskins, Quinton Dunbar, tell me that he reached out to the team to discuss a reasonable contract restructure, but the club declined the conversation. So Dunbar remains resolute in his desire to be released or traded. So basically, in other words, he still does want to play for the Redskins, and he reached out to the Redskins to figure out how they can redesign his contract to where he's making more money, which I'm going to get into soon to basically break down how his contract is built. If you haven't seen one of my previous videos where I already broke it down. But he basically wants more money with his contract, especially guaranteed money. And he reached out to Ron Rivera and the crew to see if they could talk about it. And they basically declined it and was like, just sit down and wait, we'll get to you later. Quinton Dunbar only has 1 year left on his contract and he's set to make $3.5 million with zero guaranteed money. So if he gets hurt at some point in the 2020 season, even if it's in the off season and he's not able to play during the regular season, he can end up making no dollars in the 2020 season as a worst case scenario. And he has been hurt a lot in the past. He has not been dependable at all so far in his career. But talent-wise and what I've seen on the field and in film sessions, he is definitely one of the better corners in the NFL. And restructuring his contract / extending him to give him more money than he's making would be ideal for the Redskins. But since he's had such a cloudy injury history in the past, he shouldn't be demanding too much money, so the Redskins will not have to pay him as much money as his talent is worth. Definitely won't have to pay him top dollar. He probably just wants more guaranteed money and just more money overall, but not a lot more. Because anything is better than that zero guaranteed money he's getting in 2020 right now. So if we give him a contract that gives him a little bit of guaranteed money, a little bit more money overall, and extend him, that's a win-win for everybody in the situation. He's happy because he's making more money, which is pretty much all that he's asking for with all of these antics and trade requests, release requests, all of that type of stuff. But then the Redskins also have a win-win situation. They get a really good corner for cheap if he's healthy, and if he's not healthy, we don't lose much because he doesn't cost that much. He has the potential to be a top corner in this league, period. We've seen it in spurts only because he hasn't been healthy, but when healthy, he has locked up some of the greats. And that was in the Greg Minuski defense. But it's crazy too because we've already kind of gone through this with Quinton Dunbar before. Because last season he was threatening to skip voluntary OTAs, but then out of goodwill, because of DB's coach Ray Horton, Quinton Dunbar ended up showing up anyway for Ray Horton, even though he already wanted a better contract back then, just like he does now. So now that Ray Horton is gone, there's an entirely new regime. Quinton Dunbar just basically wants to make sure that he's good. He wants the Redskins to acknowledge him and all of that type of stuff. And he wants more money. He wants to know where he stands with the team, how much of a priority he is to them. But sadly for him, in my opinion, I feel like he may kind of be on the back burner right now. I mean, especially since Ron Rivera and the crew declined to talk contracts with him after he asked to recently, just a few days ago. I feel like the Redskins are more worried about the Trent Williams contract situation, Brandon Sheriff, Eric Flowers, and any possible free agents they may bring in, like tight end, free safety, cornerback, linebacker, maybe even running back, wide receiver, or whatever. They want to get all of that done and then figure out how much money they'll have left to pay Quinton Dunbar. That's what I feel like the Redskins are doing right now. That's what it seems like. So the Quinton Dunbar situation may not get rectified until like mini camps, training camp, or somewhere around there, like possibly right before the regular season starts. But as of right now, even though it seems like he doesn't want to play on a team, I feel like he does, but he's just going about getting more money in a weird way. Basically, he's just crying out loud, basically, pay attention to me, make me a priority. I want more money too. But so far, it looks like Ron Rivera and the crew are basically just moving him to the side and ignoring him until they get their other priorities done first. And honestly, I hate the way that he's going about it, but I do feel like he deserves a little bit more money. It is annoying that just like how Trent Williams did it, they get all of their guaranteed money in the front end of their contract, and then when the late end of their contract comes up, they complain about how they don't have any guaranteed money, even though they knew what they were doing before they even signed the contract. But he does deserve a little bit more money, just period. Not even just guaranteed money, because they didn't expect him to actually be this good of a corner. But at the same time, he's injury prone and not dependable. So give him a little bit more money, but definitely don't spend a whole check on him. Don't give him the whole bag at all. Pay him as if you expect him not to be there for 16 games. Also, there's plenty of free agent options out there at cornerback. You have James Bradbury, who's my favorite cornerback target out there, who's not necessarily a good tackler, but he's a great press man cover corner and is also good in zone, which is ideal for what Jack Del Rio wants to do with his cornerbacks. He doesn't necessarily need them to be great and consistent tacklers. He needs them to be great, consistent cover corners. And James Bradbury covered the best of the best. Throughout his career in Carolina, he's the one that's covered the number one receivers like AJ Green, Julio twice a year, Mike Evans twice a year, Michael Thomas twice a year. He's the one that covers the best receivers of the opposing offense. And Jack Del Rio would love to have him, and I would too. And then you also have Chris Harris, who's probably the most talented cornerback out of this 2020 offseason free agency that's available. But he's getting up there in age. He's 31 years old, so he may be on the decline, but we don't know for sure. And then you also have Darqueze from the Bengals. You have Brian Poole from the Jets. You have Jimmy Smith from the Ravens, who's also very, very talented, up there with Chris Harris as far as the more talented corners available in this free agency cycle. But he has injury concerns. He can't necessarily stay healthy. And AJ Bouye is also out there, the Jacksonville Jaguars cornerback, who is really talented. They may end up releasing him with the new regime and the new direction that they're going towards after getting rid of Tom Coughlin. And you also have Bradley Roby from the Texans, who's also a good option out there. And ex-Redskins wise, you have Kendall Fuller and Bashaud Breeland, who both just got championship rings with the Kansas City Chiefs. I love Jimmy Moreland, and I want him to be the starter, but if we can get Kendall Fuller and or Bashaud Breeland for cheap, even though they may not go for cheap, but if we could, you can never have too many good DBs in the DB room. You can never have too many good corners, especially if they're going for cheap or team-friendly deals, bargain deals or whatever. They're not asking for the whole bag. And Kendall Fuller shouldn't be asking for the whole bag because his tenure with the Chiefs has actually been average to below average. His best game probably was in the Super Bowl when he got that interception. That looked like the Kendall Fuller that we knew in the Redskins uniform before we traded him away for Alex Smith. And you also have Ronald Darby from the Eagles, who also can't stay healthy but is very talented. I would prefer to stay away from the Jimmy Smiths and the Ronald Darbys. We're already dealing with Quinton Dunbar not being dependable and healthy as much as we need him to. I do not want to go through that again with Jimmy Smith and Ronald Darby. I definitely prefer to also stay away from the older guys like Jimmy Smith and Chris Harris. I prefer to go with the younger guys like James Bradbury, Byron Jones, Bradley Roby, Kendall Fuller. But like I said earlier, my favorite cornerback option out there is James Bradbury. For the talent that he's worth and the money that he may be willing to sign for, he is probably the best bargain out there by far. And he's played under Ron Rivera for several years, so he already knows how Ron Rivera runs things, what he expects out of his players, and all of that type of stuff. There will be a lot of familiarity with him. And like I said earlier, Jack Del Rio loves a James Bradbury type of corner. He fits the Chris Harris and Aqib Talib mode that he had when the Denver Broncos were one of the best defenses in the NFL. And now the second to last topic that I'm going to talk about in this video, Jordan Reed has officially been released. And I'm a little sad about it. I ain't even gonna lie, boy. That was my boy. It's so sad to see how his career ended up. All sorts of potential. In his prime at his healthiest, he was the best receiving tight end in the NFL. He couldn't block well. He wasn't a dependable blocker at all. So I wouldn't say he was the best overall tight end. But as far as being a pass catcher and a receiving option, nobody else in the NFL could do it how he did it at the time that he was at his healthiest. I mean, he was like the biggest mismatch possible. He was too fast and too big for linebackers, and he was too big for DBs. I mean, there was nobody on the field that could cover him. I mean, there are a lot of good receiving tight ends out there, but not everybody has the footwork that he has, the speed that he has, the extremely crisp route running that he has, the very dependable hands that he has, the contested catch ability, all of those wrapped into one player. There was no tight end in the league while he was at his healthiest that was doing it the way he did it. He finishes his Redskins career with 3,371 yards, 329 receptions, and 24 touchdowns. He is one of the biggest what-ifs in Redskins history. I mean, he's definitely up there with Sean Taylor. I wouldn't say he's with Sean Taylor or definitely not above him as far as the what-ifs go, but he's definitely up there in the same tier. If healthy, he should have been Hall of Fame bound, especially if he were healthy in this new Ron Rivera era with Dwayne Haskins as his quarterback. Him, RG3, Sean Taylor are in a class of their own as the biggest what-ifs in Redskins history. And now that the Redskins have officially released them before June 1st, they will save $8.5 million worth of cap space. The Redskins now officially rank in the top 10 in cap space available going into this free agency period in mid-March. They're actually literally number 10. They have $60 million total to spend now. The only dead caps that the Redskins are having to worry about right now are Paul Richardson, who's going for $6 million worth of dead cap, which is pretty steep, but it's still worth it to get all of his money off the books with how much he wasn't contributing anyway. Josh Norman is accounting for $3 million worth of dead cap. Jordan Reed is only hitting for $1.8 million worth of dead cap. And then Samaje Perine. Who? I completely forgot about him. He's hitting for $164,000 worth of dead cap. So that's a total of $11 million worth of dead cap that the Redskins are having to pay up. And for those of y'all who don't know, dead cap is money that we're paying players who aren't even on the team. So we're paying $11 million total to players who aren't even on the team going into 2020. But it's completely worth it, because now we have $60 million worth of cap space, even after you subtract that $11 million. If it wasn't for the $11 million, we would have $71 million worth of cap space. But because of the $11 million dead cap, we have $60 million available to spend in free agency so far. There may be more cuts, but then we'll also start spending money on other people. We need to get the Trent Williams deal done. We need to get Eric Flowers re-signed. We need to get Brandon Sheriff re-signed. We need to restructure Ryan Kerrigan if we're going to keep him, which will save us more money. Then we need to go out and get free agents. Like I said, I want James Bradbury at corner, Trey Boston or Justin Simmons as free safety, AJ Green or Robbie Anderson, Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver, Austin Hooper at tight end, maybe David Johnson for very cheap at running back. We'll see. I mean, there's so many options out there. Now we finally have a lot of money and smart front office people and a smart coaching staff to go get deals done. And I feel like they may actually be fairly aggressive to start off free agency. Oh, and don't forget linebacker too, because Corey Littleton is also a good option at linebacker for us to get in free agency. We'll see though. And you never know, we may need to go spend just like a little bit money on a backup quarterback, because Alex Smith may not even be healthy enough to be a backup quarterback. And it seems like Case Keenum and Colt McCoy are both as good as gone. Or the Redskins may just bring in an undrafted free agent to be a backup quarterback. But that's a dangerous game to play, because if Dwayne Haskins get hurt, then boy, you're in some trouble. But then again, we'll be in some trouble anyway if Dwayne Haskins is hurt. So it's probably like just don't even go ahead and spend big money on a backup quarterback. It's not even worth it. But I love how this is shaping out. Ron Rivera and the crew, this whole new era of trustworthy front office people and this great coaching staff have the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft and $60 million worth of cap space so far to go spend in free agency to turn this franchise around. Let's get this thing going, y'all. Oh, and another thing to note that's actually pretty important is that with this new CBA deal talks going on and all of this voting that they have and all of these different rules and contract stipulations they're debating over and trying to agree on, one random thing that a lot of people aren't even talking about, if approved by March 18th, the salary cap would go up by $5 million. So then the Redskins and everybody in the NFL would gain an extra $5 million worth of cap space. So the Redskins will have $65 million worth of cap space to work with as of right now, if that gets approved. And an extra $5 million goes a long way. That's just a 1-year window of $5 million. That's an extra $5 million per year you get to spend on somebody. But at the same time, since everybody's cap space is going up $5 million, that doesn't necessarily mean the Redskins have any sort of real advantage. And that may mean that players just want to get paid more now that the salary cap is larger. Oh, and lastly, I didn't think I was actually going to talk about this in this video. While I was editing the video, I thought, well, I might as well go ahead and throw this in there. So I wanted to talk about Stefon Diggs. He's having drama with the Vikings again. He recently deleted everything Vikings off of his IG. And of course, he's doing his cryptic tweet thing. And it's crazy because now Redskins Twitter is in a frenzy again over Stefon Diggs rumors and all of that. We already did that before. I mean, even his brother that's coming out of Alabama in the draft this year has tweeted that Stefon Diggs needs to go back home to Maryland and play for their hometown team. And I'm pretty sure Stefon Diggs would love to play for the Redskins. And you've even seen him tweet, "Not my dog Jay Reed." Like when the Redskins tweeted out that Jordan Reed was one of the best in franchise history and basically thanking him for everything he did after he got released. Dwayne Haskins replied to that with a crying emoji, and then Stefon Diggs replied to Dwayne Haskins' tweet and then put "Not my dog Jay Reed." and then with the crying emoji at the end. But why is Stefon Diggs such a big name and why he always has Redskins Twitter in a frenzy is because he's easily a top tier receiver. He's one of the best route runners in the league, if not the best. Easily top 3 route runners in the NFL. And then here's some random stats that should really get you excited about the thought of getting Stefon Diggs. First of all, Stefon Diggs only saw 10 plus targets in a game once in 2019. And the results of that game were 7 receptions, 167 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So basically, if you target Stefon Diggs 10 times or more, he's gonna have a great game. All you gotta do is just get him the ball, which started a lot of the Vikings drama and problems because Stefon Diggs was mad that Kirk Cousins wasn't getting him the ball as much as he felt like he should have been, and how much he just should have been, period. Stefon Diggs is a baller, and I don't know why Kirk Cousins wasn't getting him the ball as much as he should have. Also, Stefon Diggs, when targeted 20 plus yards down the field in 2019, he was first out of all receivers with 16 catches, and he was first out of all receivers with 635 yards. So technically, he's one of the biggest deep threats down the field also, along with this great route running. And then, over the last 3 years, Stefon Diggs has the highest contested catch rate out of all receivers. And he's not even a big guy. He's 6 foot flat, but with a 61.1% contested catch rate, he is statistically the best contested catching wide receiver in all of the NFL over the past 3 years. So he's easily a top 3 route runner. He's statistically the best contested catcher in the NFL. And statistically last year, he was the best deep threat in the NFL. I mean, he's literally the total package. Definitely an elite wide receiver. And to have him with Terry McLaurin and Steven Sims wouldn't even be fair. I mean, Dwayne Haskins and Scott Turner wouldn't even know what to do with all of those toys. But the only problem is, how would the Redskins go get Stefon Diggs? He's getting paid a lot of money. Not as much as he should be getting paid for how much talent he's worth, but he's still making a lot of money. He's a $14.5 million cap hit this coming season in 2020, and then he's a $15 million cap hit in 2021, a $15 million cap hit in 2022, and then a $12 million cap hit in 2023. So he does have a long-term contract, which is a great thing for the Redskins if they were to go get him. They wouldn't have to worry about paying him anytime soon. He's on contract all the way through 2023. And the year 2023, he's only a $12 million cap hit, which is ridiculous for the level of talent he has. But the only problem is, how do you get him? The Vikings will only want back a first-round pick, and right now the only first-round pick the Redskins have is the number 2 overall, who we need to be taking Chase Young with. And we don't have a second-round pick. So packaging picks with like maybe some players and stuff to send to the Vikings to get Stefon Diggs will be very difficult and probably very costly. Especially with how great we've been drafting with the late-round picks lately. Those late-round picks actually matter now, with Kyle Smith leading the drafts. But I have seen an example from Matt Valdivinos on Twitter, who basically suggested the Redskins get Stefon Diggs and a 2026 round pick, and the Vikings get Quinton Dunbar, who's acting like he doesn't want to be here anyway, a 2024 round pick and a 2021 third round pick in return. And 36% of 683 people said that that's actually a reasonable deal, and only 40% of people said that the Vikings should say no to that.
What?
So if that's on the table, the Redskins need to do that today. Like, if that's an option, if the Vikings are willing to take that for some weird, crazy reason, the Redskins need to hop on that deal today. Technically, it's not possible until free agency starts mid-March. But boy, if that's possible, the Redskins need to get that done immediately. Forget everything else, put it on hold, do that. That is a steal for the Redskins. But this whole Stefon Diggs drama and chaos, it's like clockwork. This just keeps happening. This is like the 4th time he set Redskins Twitter into a frenzy. And I feel like we shouldn't overreact every time Stefon Diggs is unhappy in Minnesota. Because that not only doesn't necessarily mean he's leaving Minnesota, but that also doesn't necessarily mean that if he leaves Minnesota, he will be going to the Redskins. He may prefer us, but he doesn't have much of a say. He'll have to be traded by his team. And also, shouts out to Dwayne Haskins for not only showing compassion towards Jordan Reed's release and how his career ended up, like I just talked about when I was talking about Stefon Diggs, but also shouts out to that video he has with GQ where he's talking about how he spent his first $1 million. I like it. He bought himself a car, a really nice car, a Bentley, but he also talked about how cars depreciate in value as soon as you buy them and drive them off the lot. So he acknowledged the fact that he wanted his dream car, and now he's done. He doesn't plan on getting another really fire car until later down the line if he does. And then he went and got his mom the house that she wanted, which I super respect. I super salute that. Can't wait to do that for my mommy. And then, of course, he spent his money on things that he wanted, like jewelry, vacation, all of that type of stuff, clothes. And y'all gonna stop hating on my boy for how he spends his money. Y'all just hating on him because y'all don't have the money to spend that he has. Let him do what he wants to do with his money. He's being smart with it. He mentioned in the video that he has 3 different accounts. He's using his money to invest, all of that type of stuff. Y'all not gonna talk about my quarterback like that. That's for real. But yeah, man, go check out that video, because it's actually pretty funny too, because he talks about how he had to spend a lot of money when he lost like a bet or a game with like Deshaun Watson and some other quarterbacks, and he ended up having to pay for everybody's dinner and some other stuff. Just go check out that video. Y'all will see. It's pretty funny. It's worth the watch. But that's it for this Redskins report. Again, immediately after I release this video, I'm getting right back to work on that 4-3 video. I've officially finished all of my notes and my script and all of the pictures and illustrations I'm going to use and diagrams and all of that type of stuff for what the 4-3 defense is and all of the different types of 4-3 defenses and their advantages and disadvantages and all of that. And what other great teams have used the 4-3 defenses, how they've used it and why they were successful with them, and how it featured some Hall of Fame players in them and allowed them to be the best them that they could be. Now I'm on to the part where I'm talking about the differences between Ron Rivera's 4-3 defenses in Carolina and Jack Del Rio's 4-3 defenses when he was the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. And then I'm going to talk about what the 2020 Redskins 4-3 defense will more than likely look like. And then I'm going to talk about how current Redskins players going into 2020 will fit into the 4-3 defense that will more than likely run. And then I have to work on what free agents will be the best fits for the 4-3 defense to fill holes that we have in 2020. So technically, even though I'm halfway through video-wise, as far as research and film sessions and all of the really tedious and hard stuff, I'm mostly through with this video. As far as time consumption, I'm definitely through the largest and most time-consuming parts of the video. So this video should be out within the next couple of days, hopefully, because that editing process is going to be crazy too. And then after the 4-3 video, you know I got to get to y'all that Terry McLaurin rookie season tribute video where I'm talking about all of his advanced stats and achievements that people should super be talking about, but a lot of people don't even know about. And then again, for those of y'all who don't know, I am now live streaming every Sunday at 2 p.m. to replace football. So please pull up to the live stream. We're going to talk about Redskins stuff, draft stuff, anything NFL. We can even talk about basketball. You want to talk about video games? I mean, anything. I just want to provide a great live stream for sports enthusiasts out there, especially my Redskins fans, to just come talk about anything they want to talk about, especially when it comes to the Redskins. So we can talk about any rumors that's going on as far as the Redskins, NFL, basketball, all of that type of stuff. We can debate. We can do anything. It can be chill. We can just be talking about life. It's whatever. Just make sure you pull up on Sunday every 2 p.m. Just because it's an off season doesn't mean it has to be for us too. And also, one last thing. My boy Derek B hit me up on Twitter and asked me how do I feel about the NFL creating a sort of D-League. I know we already have the XFL, but basically what it would be like to have a D-League to basically replace the practice squad. You know how we have the 10 players on the practice squad, even though it's probably about to increase under the new CBA deal. I think it goes up to like 14 or something like that. And I'm going to talk about the whole CBA deal and all of that that's going on in a video later on down the line. Maybe later on next week or something, once I get the Terry McLaurin and 4-3 video out. But the D-League teams would be the best way to showcase up and coming talent, because the preseason doesn't really give them enough time to really showcase what they can do. Plus, there's a lot of people out there who aren't able to go to college and showcase what they can do. And the XFL rosters are pretty much already set, but we'll see how the XFL goes. So it would be nice to give up-and-coming players another platform to show how talented they are and possibly make it to the NFL. Shoot, with the D-League, some people might just skip the whole college process period and just go straight to the D-League teams and try to work their way up to the NFL team. But at the same time, in my opinion, Even though it sounds like a great idea, there's just too much money and time and effort that the XFL is already consuming. So I highly doubt that anytime soon, at least within the next few years, that there will be enough support, time, money, effort, and all of that to go around to create an entirely new league. I mean, the XFL was already struggling last year, and they're just now starting to actually show some real success that may be able to last long term this year. So trying to start a whole new league, especially trying to organize an entire D league with teams, organization, coaches, finding enough players to fill the teams and all that type of stuff, that would take too much effort, money, and time to happen anytime soon. If it were to happen, it probably wouldn't even be within 10 years. But we'll see though. I like the idea, but it's just not very plausible anytime soon. But I do want to know how y'all feel about that. And shouts out to my boy Derek B for bringing it up on Twitter. Y'all can follow him on Twitter at Royale, like Battle Royale with an E at the end instead of just Royal. And then Unique, like something special, 32. No spaces, no underscore. Just Royale Unique 32. Y'all can follow my boy. He gives me a lot of very interesting conversation on Twitter. But along with all of that, please get in them comments and let me know how you feel about the Trent Williams situation, the Chase Young news, the Jordan Reed situation, Stefon Diggs, everything that I've talked about in this video. And also, if you like the video, if you learned anything, please like the video. Goes a long way. Even if you disliked it, please hit the dislike button. Just don't leave without hitting one of those buttons, because both of them help my channel. And then please subscribe if you haven't. If for some reason you haven't already subscribed and you're here, you're gonna love all of the Redskins videos I'm coming out with, all of the heavy draft videos I'm coming out with, film sessions, and the live streams I'm doing at 2 p.m. every Sunday now. And again, I appreciate the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.